Hello, welcome, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Lindsay DePeri-Franz, archetypal evolutionary astrologer, and this is my astrological flowcast for the week of May 2nd to the 8th. Each week here, I will be covering the main astrological events, energetic themes, and guidance for flowing with these influences, incorporating the day-to-day activations of the moon, and that'll be at the end. This week we have the Sun square Saturn, a bit of a tense aspect. And then we also have Venus and Mercury transitioning into the sign of Gemini, with Venus making some powerful activations to Neptune, Pluto, and Jupiter right before making her transition. We also have the waning quarter moon. This will be in Aquarius, and this signals the final shift of into the final quarter of the lunar cycle. Energetic themes for this week are, first of all, coming off the high of last week's full moon in Scorpio, which was intense and which was also influenced by the upcoming eclipses. We are within the spring-summer eclipse season now. And so our experiences, our emotions, life's circumstances can sort of have higher stakes or a higher sense of intensity right through the month of May and June. In this part of the lunar cycle, as we approach next week's new moon in Taurus, this is all about winding down. It's a time to pause and take a breath, to reflect and observe, to rebalance and refine. You may be drawing conclusions on your experiences over the last 3 weeks as you reflect, as well as gaining some perspective into last week's experiences. Sometimes it's hard to have that presence and that perspective when we're moving through an intense time period as the full moon was last week. So this is about release and really noticing what you can release when you trust in the flow of life. So that's really the underpinning guidance for this entire week. It's very much about cleansing and creating space as you have gained and continue to gain greater discernment into your personal unconscious influences. These can be emotions, including fear or certain beliefs. And this was very much highlighted both by last week's full moon in Scorpio, but it's also been an overarching theme of this entire lunar cycle. If you remember, the new moon in Aries on the 11th of April was represented this experience of being haunted by the past, being haunted by past conditioning or fears, and with the opportunity over this over the last 3 weeks and this coming week to notice how those influences are driving behavior, how they may be showing up in how you're moving through life, your relationships, your work, and so forth. So this week is really where everything where we draw conclusions and where we kind of gain the lessons and the learnings from our experiences of the last 3 weeks. And it's a key time for recognizing and evaluating how you see yourself and your attitudes. And again, this has been an important element of the Aries lunar cycle. The opportunity present now is to address your limitations, and these can be internal in the forms of fears or self-limiting beliefs, and they may also be external depending on your circumstances and whatever else is happening in your chart. But again, this idea of breaking free, either breaking free from the prison of the mind or breaking free from circumstances in your life that are holding you back, again, has been a powerful theme this cycle. Noticing where you tend to have, or whether you tend to have, a pessimistic attitude or an optimistic one. Again, is another key theme of this lunar cycle and was highlighted strongly with last week's full moon. And this is really the time to notice, what are your predispositions or defaults, and how do they influence how you see the world? How are your personal biases influencing the way that you perceive your current circumstances? And this is a key theme, a key question that's going to continue to be important over the coming lunar cycle, especially as we approach next month's full moon lunar eclipse. You are being called now to confront your own scarcity mindset, the beliefs and stories that you carry around being or having enough, or not being or not having enough. And the process that's been unfolding since mid April has been guiding you to release fear, the fears that lead you to close your heart. And so these last 2 weeks of the lunar cycle have very much been um, allowing for you to experience a catharsis or healing release. Noticing a key doorway into your process is noticing where you are bracing against life, where you are contracting rather than opening to the flow of life. And this can very much come up because of fear of not being in control or a fear of uncertainty. And the invitation now, as we bring this cycle to a close, is to recognize and allow for a shift in mindset, in your willingness to lean into the unknown, to lean into the mystery of life, to lean into vulnerability. This is where we have the chance, or where we are really being called to consciously soothe and soften our defenses as the Aries lunar cycle winds down. Which brings me to my final energetic theme for the week, which is reopening the heart. This can come from simply letting go of denying yourself, becoming more open to receive. And again, noticing where you may be bracing against life because of fear of the unknown, which may be leading you to be closed off to an opportunity. One of the main themes of this whole lunar cycle with the new moon in Aries earlier this month is seeing the world, or last month, is seeing the world with a fresh pair of eyes, and finding ways to be kind and at peace with yourself. In terms of the day to day flow, uh, the cycles or the activations of the moon, we will have on Sunday until the afternoon, the moon will still be in Capricorn. And then Sunday afternoon, Monday, and most of Tuesday, the moon is in Aquarius. And this is where we'll have that real calling for release, that tension with the opportunity to break free through the act of release. And that will be signaled by both the Sun square Saturn and the waning quarter moon. Tuesday night, Wednesday, and Thursday, the moon will be in Pisces. And then Friday and Saturday, the moon is in Aries, where we bring everything full circle for this lunar cycle. And get ready for next week's new moon in Taurus. So earlier in the week, I talked about that tension coming from these square activations with Sun, Saturn, and also the waning quarter moon. So this can feel like contraction, feeling restless or unsettled, also questioning or reevaluating your circumstances, your situation. Feelings can definitely be coming up right now around the lack of deserving and belonging. And these are coming up in order to be examined again as you probe deeper into unconscious influences, whether they are fears or self-limiting beliefs, certain biases. Again, that noticing where you are bracing against life. So this is in the early part of the week. This is the calling now is to get to the root of these disturbances that have been coming up. And again, reflecting on your experiences over the last 3 weeks. Key question or mindfulness prompt: what is blocking me from confident, authentic, purposeful expression? As we tune into that influence of the waning quarter in Aquarius. Another key question: where do I need to let go of rigidity and allow more flow? And again, that's tuning into the Sun-Saturn square. And remember, the key word here, or the key guidance, is to release, recognize, perhaps by taking a step back, becoming the witness to your experience, taking a step outside of yourself in a sense, to notice and really call out what's not fitting in. Middle of the week, we have the moon in Pisces. And so this can represent a stirring up of emotions. Tension may still be present from early in the week, but here it will move more from the head, the intellectual experience, into a more emotional experience with the influence of the moon in Pisces. So this can show up as feeling overwhelmed by emotions, perhaps. The way to navigate this energy is to allow the emotions, to be in this flow, to trust, and to let go of control, to dream, if you will. The calling here is to continue to notice and release self-doubt or self-sabotage. A mindfulness prompt for the middle of the week: what is my mantra for trusting myself, for having faith in my journey? How can I shift from a pessimistic to a more optimistic mindset? The Pisces energy this week can support you in reclaiming your openness or your innocence. Pisces energy rules compassion, unconditional love. It really can facilitate that reopening of the heart. If you are willing to surrender to the vast mystery of life, to the emotional realm, to the void, to the unknown. We also will have another meteor shower this week. It's the Eta Aquarid meteor shower. It will be visible just before dawn on Thursday morning. If you are awake and in a place where you have some good visibility to the stars, look to the southeast in the early morning hours before sunrise, so 4 to 5 a.m. So for those of you who are real early birds. And if you catch it, I'd love to hear about it. You can send me a note or send me a message on one of my social media outlets. I would love to hear about your witnessing of the meteor shower. And then bringing the week to a close, we have the moon in Aries Friday and Saturday. Again, this is really that winding down feeling. Conserve your energy during this time. This is a really juicy weekend coming up for self-care. And this is that moment of final release. With the moon in Aries here, you may really benefit from some time alone for yourself, finding some time in these last few days of the lunar cycle for reflection, noticing what may have shifted for you since that last new moon, and perhaps acknowledging a feeling of a greater sense of self-understanding, perhaps self-acceptance. So that's all for this week. I wanted to share that I have a special event coming up, and I would like to invite you to my new moon in Taurus, Attunement and Meditation. That's going to be on Monday, May 10th, and I will put the registration link for that event in the description. I will also be offering a more in-depth spring-summer astrology attunement workshop later in May. So please subscribe to my newsletter if you have not already to stay updated on all of my upcoming events. And I'll also put the link for that in the description. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel to stay connected. And you can check out the audio version of my weekly forecast, which is now available on Spotify. Search for All Rise Astrology. So that's it for this week. Thank you again for joining, and have a great week.